Hi, thanks for joining us today on Real Estate Insiders TV. I'm Danny Poulos with the Elite Lending Team at Fenby. Our guest this morning is Bill Hall. He's with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Florida Realty. He's also the current president of the Jupiter DeQuesta Hobe Sound Association of Realtors. And most importantly, he's an expert in the luxury market, and that's what we're going to be spending our time with today. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into this market, and then we'll jump right in.
Well, thanks, Danny. Thanks for having us, by the way. I got into the luxury market from the development perspective. I did developments all over Florida, Belize, Mexico, and when the market changed, I went into doing some general real estate work. And when the Berkshire Hathaway brand developed now just a little over a year ago, I thought it was such a great opportunity to have such a great branding of Berkshire Hathaway and luxury real estate that we've taken it and we've done some interesting things with it.
It's like the luxury market was waiting for Berkshire Hathaway,
they were waiting for Berkshire Hathaway
to get involved. So, you know, you've got different issues dealing with that market and with those buyers and sellers. How do you advise your clients now when they're trying to anticipate where the market's going in the luxury market, where their best investments are?
Well, by and large, the market will track itself. You know, you'll have your ups and downs, but the market will be the market. But in the luxury market, things are a little different because there are different parameters that guide that marketplace. It's not the same issues that are dealing with the market in general. They have a whole litany of different reasons why they buy real estate, part of holdings for their overall financial future, and it becomes a very major part of portfolios sometimes. So you have to look at it a little more stringently.
Right, not the same as a first-time home buyer might be looking at it. So give us an example of the different things that they're looking at.
It's very interesting because a third to half of the luxury home buyer is going to buy with cash. So the need to have a home be qualified for a mortgage or appraised really doesn't matter. And the interesting thing about a luxury home buyer is if it fits their need, fits what they want to do, they'll buy it. And if it's priced more than what an appraisal is, that really isn't a major factor, assuming it's not double the price.
There's a lot less paperwork when it just goes, who do I make this out to?
Who do I make the check out to? Absolutely.
So you're looking at, from the seller's side then, a third of the buyers being cash. How does that affect the market?
Well, it can affect the market because sellers sometimes will say, you know, I want to get that top price. I want to look at that 1/3 of the buyer who doesn't really mind that they may be paying a little more because I want to maximize my value. And that's well and fine, and that'll work, and we'll advise our clients that, you know, we can hold out for that. But what happens along the way is you elongate the days on market.
Right.
So, you know, if you have a need or a desire to sell your home within a 6-month or a 1-year window, and you price it accordingly, then you can do that. But if you're looking for that 1 in 4 buyer, all of a sudden now your days on market may be 2 years. And we have a lot of that on Jupiter Island and Palm Beach where people will put their homes on the market and they've been on, some of them have been on the market for 1,000 days or more. But they're looking for that one buyer that has a need, has a desire to have their lifestyle in that place.
Right. And they're probably not in the, you don't run into as many situations where they need to sell to move on to whatever else they're going to do, right? So if they can afford to be patient if that's what they're looking for.
Sure. You know, the need to sell in the ultra luxury market isn't usually the catalyst. If they're selling, is they're buying something else or they're just moving their portfolio around and taking advantage of some things. It's usually not one of desperation or need to get out before we buy something else.
Now, you've explained to me before that when you're talking about the true luxury market, it goes beyond the local market. It becomes national, global. Yeah. So give us an example of where else you look for indications of what's going to happen in a luxury market here.
Well, I share with my clients when we're getting ready to come into season. Right. You know, we're just at the cusp of the season starting, and people are listing their homes. They're saying, you know, where do we need to list and what do we need to anticipate? Where is the market going? And we'll look at that from the snapshot of Southeast Florida, which is fine. But what I do is I take a much broader and in-depth approach to the process. And I'll look at properties in Manhattan, you know, which is a high-end market. I'll look at areas of Long Island, which is a high-end market. and I'll look at areas in Florida that are high-end markets and see how those markets are doing.
Now you're talking about opposite seasons there, right?
Seasons, because in Long Island, if they're having a good summer, I'm probably going to have a good winter. But
right.
if things are starting to go down, then we have to look at it and say, we need to adjust pricing or we need to elongate our time frame.
So what's been happening then in these other markets? What can we look forward to in our luxury market down here?
Long Island has had a very, very good season. And the first 6 months of the year, going through the first half of the summer, their inventory, or not their inventories, their sales are up somewhat 50%. Some areas, you take Bridgehampton, you take the Hamptons in general, everything has gone up. So from all indicators, from what they're having as a summer, we're going to have as a very good winter. And we expect that to track through all the way through the end of June of 2015.
I grew up on Long Island. I noticed those names just mentioned. That was not my neighborhood.
That wasn't your neighborhood?
So you're talking about comparing the luxury market up there and what's going to happen in the wintertime down here to what happens in the summer up there.
Right. And we'll look at areas like Manhattan also. You know, you take Manhattan, that is an area which is, you know, the financial capital of the world, high-end properties. If you're someone who lives in Manhattan and your high-end residential property you're paying more for, then you will probably be paying more for your secondary and your third and your fourth homes. If, on the other hand, your primary luxury residence in New York, your apartment, you're saying, look, I'm paying less for, then I need to track that, because what's actually going to happen, if you're paying less for your primary residence, you're probably not going to pay more for your secondary residence.
Right. So, and of course, you're dealing with people that are living half there and half
Back
here.
and forth, right.
So how about Manhattan sales then?
Well, the Manhattan sales...
What's it look like for us?
Manhattan sales have been on fire. The only thing holding Manhattan sales up right now is a lack of inventory. So when you look at that, it bodes well for South Florida, bodes well for our season. Manhattan has some other things that feed into it that really don't apply to us as much as, you know, the international buyers they have. And they also, last year, they had just a phenomenal season, but it was all predicated on some taxing issues up in the Northeast, and people were rushing to buy things. And that rush is over, but they haven't gone down in pricing. They're still buying the homes, and there's still a lack of inventory.
So all this information you're talking about is stuff you really have to have a grip on, a grasp of, to be able to function in the luxury real estate market.
Well,
it's a different animal than general real estate, right?
It's an entirely different animal, and you have to understand your client is dealing with that every day.
Right.
Because that is their world. That is what they do. So when they come to South Florida and they're looking for luxury real estate, if I don't have a grasp on what they're doing in the Northeast or in the Midwest, then I don't have an understanding of what their needs are. And serving the needs of the client in luxury market is huge.
Yeah, I mean, you really got to have both be in their world to be able to function and understand what's important to them.